Welcome. It's been a while. It's been a very, very long time. I have a newborn that I'm taking care of. So on and off, on and off. For this, but it's been 3 months. A little bit 3 months. Okay, it's been more than 3 months. We are chasing 4 months at least. I like it. So maybe reached out to me. I've not been seeing you. What's up? Why you no longer writing on your Instagram, even your YouTube, the dormant? So gradually, I'm trying to regain my strength, my time, and roll out videos and come back to teach and talk about our favorite topic ordinarily. Now, the essence of coming back to these things is because we now live in a time whereby so many people are now so many interests or so many attention din ordinary spirituality. So many people are now asking the right questions. Thanks to internet, making internet a global village. So we are all connected and we're now asking these relevant questions. We are coming from a place that we have already been taught that our customs and practices and spirituality are all aspects of the deep devil, demons, and all those things. So we're not coming from the place of realizing that these things are not true. That there are so many ways in which we can acknowledge God and acknowledge the universe. And how our ancestors did theirs is not demonic, it is just their own indigenous understanding of the creator. And it should not be demonized. So we are now asking these questions. And not about are we curious about our spirituality, we are also curious about some of the customs and practices that we engage in, and we're now thinking of, should we continue some of these practices, should we abolish some of these practices, are we criticizing them? What is that the bone of contention? Now we're not living in that age whereby we're having these conversations, so everybody is coming with their own opinions and even those who they criticize, they are also mixing it up. Now people like me that actually taking interest in studying and trying to understand this culture from an ancestral point of view. Now when we see some of those mistakes in the modern age, it is now dawned on us to come out and say, no, this is not really true, it is this way and not really that way. And which now brings me to the reason why I'm making this video today. So this creator, she I saw a video of her. The question on the tag on the video was culture and traditions are harmful. And the mistake that she made here is that she generalized. She's guilty of generalization. She generalized by saying that culture and traditions are harmful without any in-betweens. Now the truth here is that we have harmful cultural practices. These are facts. Forcing a woman to drink the water that they used to wash her late husband is a harmful practice. Now, some of the widowhood rights had a very harmful to the woman. So we're not going to ignore those practices, they're harmful. But at the same time, if we now say that all cultures are harmful, we are now eliminating the fact that culture is also the reason why we exist. These practices, that created us in such a way that our lineage are still functional, we are still existing for one reason or the other. So not all culture are harmful and not all traditions are harmful. But she was making her video with a reference to bride price. I think the question that was asked was about the returning of the bride price. Why does it happen? Now she gave reasons that the reasons why it happened is because of misogyny. She said that it is because our culture do not see women as something or a value. And she now said that slavery, she now positioned the bride price as, a money that you pay to the slave master and, for the purchase of a commodity. Now, in our context, for the purpose of the man purchasing a commodity, or our culture now for money as properties. Now, bride price within the Igbo context, what does it even mean? What does it symbolize? Now, first of all, there is no father that will tell you that I'm giving you my daughter, you're purchasing my daughter with this money. It does not happen anyway. It is not the social mindset. It is not the reason why a father collects bride price. Now, the whole idea that surrounds the bride price, it's more of you are appreciating the parents of that woman for their efforts in raising their daughter. This is the borderline. That's what bride price means. Now, in our own society, it is the hallmark of what makes somebody married. Now, let me rephrase, or let me come back to it now. Now, I've said all the things that she she mentioned, the reason why they returned the bride price is because of other from one year same way value. So watch what she has to say, and I'm going to answer some of the things that she said. I'm going to counter them. Yeah.
Interesting question. Can you make a video why Nigerian men ask for bride price after living with a woman for years, having children, and when let's say it's over, she have to return? I didn't get the rest of the question anyway, but this does not happen everywhere in Nigeria. We have over 240 ethnic groups in Nigeria with over 520 languages in Nigeria, and each of these ethnic groups have quite different cultures. They have cultures that may be similar, but they are not necessarily the same everywhere in Nigeria. So this particular culture happens around south, mostly around south and southeast Nigeria, not everywhere around Nigeria. Personally, where I come from, they don't practice this. As long as the marriage or the wedding happened, and as long as the marriage was consummated, there is no returning of bride price at all. So that aside, the straight answer to this question is misogyny. That is why they do not see women with value. Consider the case of slavery, because I tried to type this for you in the comment section and TikTok kind of took my comments down, and they said it violated community guidelines. So I tried to switch it up as much as I can. They did not let me. So that's why I'm making a video to explain. It is mostly misogyny. Consider like women are being treated as properties, and this does not only happen within Nigeria or within Africa, it's everywhere. But I'm just talking about the Nigerian factor. Nigerian cultures and traditions consider women as properties of men, and these women are considered, just change the scenario and consider women as slaves and men as slave masters. So women are being owned by men, be it their fathers or the men that they married. So it's just like during slavery or slave trade, where if you purchase a slave and through the slave woman you were not satisfied with the slave or what the slave is doing, you can always return the slave and get refunds. So it's in the same manner that these cultures do exist. They do not put into consideration the labor that this woman has labored or the slave has labored, what the person who purchased her had benefited from her, because they don't think she's worth anything. So they don't pay attention or pay any respect to her labor or her body, her integrity, her dignity, or anything. And within the patriarchy, men place value on money. They place value on resources more than they do on women. So that is why it is important to them that you return their resources, because they consider it a waste of resources. A lot of our cultures are deeply rooted in misogyny. There's a part of your question where you were asking, how can these things be resolved and how will they stop? Do I think it's a good culture or a bad culture? And if it's a bad culture, how can we stop that?
First of all, what is marriage? Marriage is a union between two individuals that want to come together, and they will form a union, they'll form a family, they'll procreate. Now, within our indigenous Igbo context, marriage is between two families and not two individuals. This is why if they're going to do the paying of the bride price, it is not the man that pays, and it is not the father of the woman that receives. This thing is done within the Umunna, the king's men of the two families. They all bring out their representative, they move it to a corner, and they negotiate. And at the end of the day, most families would return the money to the man, and say we are not selling our daughter. And I'm going to explain the reasons why they are doing this thing that way this time around, because before we will not say that they are paying and our poor woman anymore or anything. In Igbo indigenous society, marriage, or this old bride price or bride, which it was bride wealth initially, bride wealth in the sense that the both families come together, they bring gifts, they gather them and they give it to the couple. It was a system of economic reciprocity. You give me, I give you. They pack them together and they give to the couple. It was bride wealth. It was bride wealth. Now, I said it is not just the paying of a physical paying of the money. It also involves so the whole system of marriage in Igbo culture, it is complex. So this creator, she turned everything, she compressed everything that we do, the whole marriage processes, into just the paying of the bride price. And when you just say the paying of the bride price, you will now make it a male-centered affair, because it is just the men that go into the room. But in our culture, the woman would present her daughter. It was everything. And the reasons why social rules exist is because they want to create a functional system that is devoid of chaos. When social roles don't exist, the society becomes chaotic. That does not mean that social roles are static. Social roles can be fluid. This is when the individuals now look at where that they can now complement each other. But social roles exist to create a balance. And in our society, anything may go on. Okay, they will enter into the room. The women will present the bride. Now, the second thing I now ask, the third question I now wrote down here is, what becomes the hallmark of marriage, or what shows that two individuals are married within a society? If you go to the Western society, they do that by signing a legal document. In other indigenous culture, Yoruba them, outside them, in our own Igbo culture, what says that a woman or a man is married is the paying the paying of the bride price or the bride wealth. That is the hallmark of what says that a person is married. So without even saying, oh, the reason why they are doing it, that's not the reason why they are doing it. Is that it is what identifies, it is what shows that a person is married. So all these reasons, she was just pointing, she was just going back and front and just saying things that she does not really understand. Now, let's now look at the entirety of the traditional marriage process. Now, we now have Ekwaka, what they now refer to as the introduction. This is where the family of the man comes to introduce themselves and state their intention. They'll come with wine and they will say, this is we met a flower, or we saw a flower I want to come and pluck from your vineyard. The man will not say, oh, I have a tree of flowers. Which one do you want? Then the man will now call the name. I was say, awesome to Nkana awesome to. This is who we want to come and pluck. Now, when they now say it, then they will now invite the woman. The father will say, is this? She will now say yes. So you will now say that if you now position this practice as a master or a slave relationship, then the question here is, if a slave master wants to sell his or her slave, would the slave master call the slave and get the slave's opinion, or get the slave's what do they call it, or get the slave's permission before selling the slave? The slave master will not do it. The slave master will just do what he wants to do without the permission of the slave. So when we now move from Ekoaka and get to what we will call Imegowany, this is where the Umunna will now gather. Umunna, not just Umunna, Umuada, both the men and the women of that family. Now the groom's family, they will not come alone, because if it's just men that comes to their occasion, the bride family will ask, or is they will ask about the women. So it is going to be a mixed affair. Both the men and the women, all of them are attending this event. When they now come, they will now ask the woman, in the clear view of the family, they will ask, should we collect? Should we accept? Is she the one? Yes. Now, before we now enter the Ebanku proper, this is now the wine carrying ceremony. It is that wine carrying that the woman gives. It is now what sediments the entire occasion. Now, we have what we call Ifan in my community. They will ask you to go outside of your father's compound. You will move outside of your father's compound, and they will give you a keg of wine. You will now escort your in-laws into your father's compound. Now that wine you're carrying, you're taking that wine straight into your father's house, and you're laying that wine at the feet of your mother. At the feet of your mom. Now, what are we now saying here? That because the way our sister just positioned this thing, she made it to be, okay, this is just a male-centered event. Women are just spectators in this event. They don't really have a say. They are just being carted away. And I know at the end of this post, they will still say, at the end of this whole explanation, the conclusion will now be, oh yes, she's male-centered, or you're trying to defend patriarchy. That's why you're doing this. Well, if people that know me knows me, so I'm not going to get into some kind of discussion. Now, in Abia State, when my friend got married, she performed this right, and I couldn't attend because of my baby, but it was really, really interesting when I saw what she was doing, because a friend of mine was capturing the whole event and she was sending it. Now my friend took a wine and pieces of meat to the father. She knelt down, and the father asked her a series of questions. Did you say that these people that came for your hand, I should accept their wine? She said yes. He said I should accept their food. She said yes. He now said that if I accept this, and hope it's not going to purge me. She said yes. It is not going to give me headache. She said yes. The father now prayed for her. and accepted her gift from her in-laws. She went back and she also brought that set, the same kind of items. She knelt before her mother, and the mother repeated the same questions to her. And at the end of the day, they accepted what the daughter was bringing. So we now see here that there is no place in our cosmology that says that our traditional affair or our marriage processes, how we marry, what identifies us as being married is because we are being enslaved, or is as a result of being owned and all those things, because you will be asked, you the woman will be asked. So if you're bringing, it's not that they're cutting you away or they're selling you. If you say you don't want them, they will not come in. When I went to Nsukka for my friend's traditional marriage, they will close off the gates, they will tie the gates with omo. These days they now use ribbons, but she said back in the day it was an omo that they would use to tie off their gates. Then they would refuse the in-laws from entering. It is the woman, the one that is about to be married, that will go and cut that ribbon and allow them to come in. When I was about to marry, because I married an Nsukka, they asked me, don't we close the gates? And when I said no, that we have Ifan, which is what I did. I took them outside and I brought them inside my father's compound to show that I'm the one that is bringing these people to my father, and not my father selling me off to them. Now, another thing here that I wrote here is that now, if bride price, bride wealth, imego, and all those practices, ifan, etc., all those things, if they are hallmarks or if they all shows that the things that show that a woman is married in a society, what now shows the dissolution of a marriage? This is where the returning of the bride price comes in. They're returning the bride price to show that this marriage is no longer happening. It is divorce. It's showing. Now, it is not just a returning of the bride price. First of all, the man will come with a keg that is closed off with an ube leaf, the pear leaves. Will bring a keg of wine. Instead of using the normal palm front to close the mouth, they will use the ube leaves to close off the mouth. First of all, that's the first thing that says that I'm not marrying again. Before he will now say, okay, this, and that's wine that I'm bringing, they will not drink it, they will break the cake. So it is not just the returning of the bride price is what determines or shows that this marriage is no longer happening. What first of all shows that this marriage is no longer happening is the breaking of the cake. Anakowa godi anakowa ifeji, and then go first. That's the first thing that shows that the marriage is no longer happening. Now, why that is being happened, this process can actually be instigated by the man or the woman. Now, when people say, "Oh, that divorce is not, it's a shameful thing to," that's is a religious mindset. It's religion that came with this whole castigating, divorcees or single mothers. It's religion that brings that kind of stigma. In our tradition or our system, a woman can say she does not want to marry 100 times, as much as she says she does not want, and nobody will come and start carrying out of her head, hey, if you've done this one, you don't do that one. That's nonsense. It's religion that brought us. If a woman does not want to marry again because of whatever reasons, she will say she does not want to marry this man. Maybe the man wants to marry 10 wives and she does not want to be counted or numbered. She will now say, I don't want again. No. They will return the bride price, the cake. The same thing the man will do when he wants to divorce the woman. It's the same thing the woman's family is still going to do when she wants to divorce the man. And it's not just the man is also going to come with his kinsmen. The woman also comes with her kinsmen. It is vice versa, because when you were going to marry her, you did not go alone. You will come with your kinsmen. And when they came to meet the woman, they did not meet the woman, they met the woman's kinsmen. So this is how it works in our society. Now the problem here is that I think to put what she was trying to say in perspective now is that the social perception of the bride price, that is the problem, and not the culture itself. The social perception. Now I came across a video when a man was quantifying women as dogs because of the practice of the bride price. And I know that so many women have heard this statement, which even drove me when my husband was about to come to marry me. I had this conversation with my dad and I was like, this whole bride price of a thing, is it not better you just keep it? It's not as if you need the money. How much is he going to give you that used to put me through school, raise me, and all those things? My daddy laughed and he was like, we don't discuss these things, but I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to say it here, but he now said that it is not as if that they are charging you 100 million or 10 million or all those things. No, that What they will ask the man to do is to present different denominations: 5 naira, 10 naira, 100 naira, 20 naira, 15 naira, so and so. Now he would collect probably no from 5 naira to 1,000 naira. Then he would collect probably 500 naira or probably 50 naira. And even at the end of the day, if he wants, he would even return the 50 naira back to the man. So when they now talk about when a man now says one inch that the question becomes, how much did you pay for her? Is it 50 naira or is it 1,000 naira? So the practice of the bride price, the problem here is the social perception. This now makes it, men becomes to use the whole idea of bride price as an avenue to mistreat women. And because we are no longer in tune with our customs and traditions, people now use that as an avenue to commit domestic violence. But there are some communities where they do email quota. The same time you're performing the rites of bride price, you're also dropping a certain amount of money that the men in the family will use to beat you and flog you in case of domestic violence. So if you beat up their sisters, they will use that money to buy canes and meet you in your house and flog you. So we had institutions, we had ways that we prevented domestic violence. But it's because of how things are, we're no longer in tune with these customs and our traditions. We somehow live under the wrong social perception that bride price means ownership. And by saying that bride price means ownership, it now comes with series of abuse within that marriage. Now, it's only women who are aware and who knows that the paying of the bride price does not mean that a man should abuse you, would be able to know that if a man should do that, you go back home. Before in our ancient society, if a man lays his hands on you, even if it is once, you will back your load and you go back to your father's house. He will come and explain why he's raising his hands on you. And they will put systems in place to ensure that even if you go back to that man, he will never lay his hands on you. And back in the day, we lived in a very close-knit society. It's not now that we live almost, some people live abroad. Then my father's house could be like the next street or the next compound. If you raise your hands, you come and be my father's house now. But because that some of us live in far places, we have sisters who live in abroad with their husbands. If the man abuses them there, how can they come home? Especially if they are not financially capable of traveling. Now, when she now said that women do not have value, I begin to laugh because in our society, they will tell you, it is only a person that has not gotten in trouble with women in his lineage would only say that the women in his lineage are weak. So if you say that you're a strong man, especially if they are like diseased spirits, those ones will open your ear. Now, when I have other systems, like in my community again, there's a particular deity that she's in charge. She, not even a male deity, she's in charge of protecting married women. Women in that community that were married out or to other communities, or even within that, I'll call her the patron saint of married women in my community. If they abuse you as a married woman and you report to that deity, she's going to answer for you in thunder and brimstones or the hailstones, whatever that is. But not trying to stray. Our society has always upheld that women have value. We could say it's the modern man that has forgotten his customs, has forgotten his traditions, will now to waste things like the bride price and other practices to suit his own agenda. But in our traditions, paying of the bride price has nothing to do with ownership. It is just a symbolic way of showing that a woman and a man are married. That's just the baseline of what it means. We still have, what it now entails, but all those things are now different aspect, perceptions. So that's the end of this video. And if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, comment, share, and invite your friends and relatives to, for us to further this conversation. So until next time, yeah, guys, yeah.